Obvious question. Which is first, the state or the federal? And in that issue, who's winning and why? What's in it for you guys? All coming up for debate on tonight's Frontlines. From Truckin City Central Command, you are on the front lines. Truckin News.
The semi-truck driver accused of causing that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion. And we will make trucking great again. Built for truckers.
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
By truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring.
I think trucking is a very good career.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Majority of the blame is the companies.
And we don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Hosted by the El Rushbo of Truckin News, Boss Man. Heidi ho and greetings, truck lovers and truth seekers. 860-785-3547 is your way of contacting me and becoming part of an ever-growing movement. We are the front line. And so begins another day. Another day of broadcast excellence here in the Truckin City Central Command, otherwise known as the United States of Truckin', the collaborative think tank for advanced trucking journalism. And folks, tonight's show, oh, it's a good one. We're taking on the raw, uncensored look at the top trucking headlines from the last week. You know, they don't stop making stories, so we don't stop broadcasting. And they don't want you to dwell on the small stuff, but we're putting it here anyway. Broadcasting from deep inside the lair of the Truth in Broadcasting Network, Boss Man here with yet another example of truth at work. And let me tell you something, folks. This is not an easy job to do, but collectively, I have to do it. Full-time trucker with a schedule that doesn't relent. I've been a little bit unpredictable on my frontline shows. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to commit to you that I'm going to be as regular as possible. I may not be able to make the weekends on 7 o'clock, but I'm going to do my damnedest to be as regular as possible. If it's not Frontlines, it's Journal. But one way or the other, I'm bringing you the content you need to help make trucking great again. If you believe everything the media tells you, you'd think truckers are barely hanging on, waiting for Washington, Wall Street, or some mega corporation behemoth to come in and save them. Well, let me ask you something. Since when did truckers ever sit around and wait for a handout? Since when did the backbone of this country ever look to bureaucrats for solutions instead of rolling up our sleeves and getting it done our way? Tonight, we're cutting through the noise. We're getting to the real stories. What it actually takes to be successful on the road right now, despite all this doomsday talk. Fuel prices on the rise, freight rates on the decline, legislation. What's the latest in regulations and in the pipeline that could change the game? Well, I've got some information you need to hear, so stick around. And here's a big one, folks. Your thoughts on what lies ahead. What do you guys see in the horizon? What do you think needs to happen to turn the tides? Call in, be part of our show. We welcome your feedback and everything you've got to say about trucking the way it should be. Tonight here on Frontlines. 860-785-3547. You call in, you give us your thoughts. We want to hear from you. In the end, we see one road, one code. That's what sets us apart from mainstream. That's what sets you and I apart from everyone else. Together, we can make trucking great again. So let's get into these headlines. Before I do, I want to put out a special shout out. Someone was on Grumpy's show the other night. If you're watching me tonight, I would like to extend an invitation to you. Your name is Thomas Barb. You are the individual that is responsible for this wonderful shirt that I'm wearing right here. United States of Truckin. News on all things trucking. Wonderful shirt. Great work he did. He is not only making shirts for me, but he's also making waves for you truckers out there. He's got an organization put together he would like you to know more about. I'm going to welcome you, Thomas, to come on my show and talk about the good things you're doing for the truckers. I want the audience to hear about that. I want you to reach out to me, click on my StreamYard link, or if you still feel inclined, call our studio line, 860-785-3547. I want these guys to hear about you. You are doing some amazing work, my friend, and you deserve all the props you can get. Truckers, buckle up, because tonight we've got a major amount of stories that demand your attention. First, a tragic head-on collision in Missouri claimed the lives of 2 truckers, raising serious questions about highway safety and what more can be done to protect drivers out there. CDL Life featured that story. Then also, in Texas, massive congestion bottlenecks are causing nightmares for truckers, with the state ranking among the worst in the nation for traffic jams. They're trying to make changes, but my question is, will the infrastructure projects ease the pain, or are we stuck in gridlock forever? If you've ever been down that way, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a story broadcast by the Houston Chronicle. Finally, the future of fuel is on a shaky ground. With hydrogen-powered rigs facing a reckoning and electric alternatives still struggling, hence my latest video today, check it out. Is there a real viable replacement for diesel, or are we just being a solid bill of goods? This also brought up to us by Wall Street Journal. Folks, these aren't just headlines. These are stories that impact your bottom line. Before I move on, though, just wanted to let you guys know we are so far at 742 subscribers strong. I began recently refocusing my energy on content after suffering a schedule setback. I'm now the owner of a rig. I've got a huge amount of responsibility, which I do not take lightly, and I don't expect any of you do either. So, you know what? I decided I'm going to run this channel the way anybody else would. I'm going to put out the best product I can. I'll get as many of you on board as humanly possible. So if you're scanning the headlines, you're looking at this video, please go down below, give me a like, become a subscriber. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Let's get on to the first story. The tragedy in Missouri. Devastating head-on collision in Missouri this week took the lives of 2 truckers in what authorities are calling a tragic accident. The details are still emerging, but one thing's clear. This is yet another example of the unforgiving dangers truckers face every day. Whether it's reckless four-wheelers cutting us off, poor road conditions, or just drivers being forced to run longer hours due to the low rates out there, the fact remains we're dying on large numbers on these highways. So we've got to think about our safety first. So the question is, what more can be done? Are we talking about better highway designs? Are we talking about stricter regulations? No, midlife, I am not asking for more. I mean, what's it going to take? Increased training, maybe? Maybe giving us a little bit more prompting as to how to handle emergency situations? I don't know. What you guys think? Call us on our studio line, 860-785-3547. Give us your thoughts. We'd like to know. Thumper, what do you think? You think better training would help? Or do you think this is a case of too much too late?
Kind of too late, whatever you just said. But yeah, training, yeah, I mean, I got a t-shirt coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna start advertising here.
Go ahead.
I got a t-shirt coming out that I'm working on the design right now. It says it takes a lot of years, blood, sweat, and tears to be called
Amen.
a trucker. It does. Yeah, anybody can get behind a wheel and drive these things, but it takes a lot of years and dedication to master this job, just like anything else. I mean, we ain't flipping burgers. It's not where you could show up half awake and, not really be there and whatnot. I mean, we're hauling 80,000 pounds plus everywhere, and it's not just our lives on the line; it's other people's lives on the line. So training is a big thing.
It
I
is.
I always say it: master in the trucking world, master one thing, then move on to the next one, master that one, and that skill. I mean, you kind of mastered the whole reefer part of it and dry van and your home goods, and I specialize in cattle and grain. So
Mhm.
you
We're
know
all
it just
we're all a creature of our own talents. I mean, we
oh yeah.
all excel at some things, and not so much at others. So it really depends.
Yep. So I mean, yeah, I mean that's the main thing is you got to find something that you enjoy doing in the industry, and if it's something you like doing, then that's what you got to do. Stick to
Mhm.
it. Don't
Yep.
just half-ass it. That's when people get
Yep.
hurt and accidents happen.
Very true. Good evening, Larry. Introduce yourself and tell me what you think. Training, more training, less training. What do you
How
think of that
about
story?
people become adults first?
Adults first. I like that. That's an interesting perspective. Why do you say that?
I mean, I don't know the details of the accident or nothing. If it was
Mhm.
slick roads, bad roads, what? So if it was just wrong time, wrong place,
Mhm.
or anything like that, but
Mhm.
pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That usually says a lot. I mean, a lot of I hate to put it this way, but a lot of people today when they get into this job and they get behind the wheel, I don't think they really understand what it is they're getting involved in. They think of it as just a good way to make money. And, I think the last thing they think about are the safety aspects of it, like what to do when you're on icy roads, how to handle a trailer that's about to fish, and jackknife on you. A lot of people don't know the simple trick with the trolley brake, and a lot of times, they're looking at the ass end of their trailer before they realize they've even got a problem.
I mean, if we're gonna sit
So
and talk about accidents too, I mean, there should be one accident that should be brought up tonight too. The one in Wyoming
well,
in the tunnel.
yeah, I wasn't, I wasn't on my headline list, but by all means, go ahead. I
I
mean,
mean,
what made you want to mention that?
that accident was caused by somebody being careless on what they were doing. And
Hmm.
what it was this time I came over and could have been texting driving. I'm not accusing somebody of doing something. I don't know what he was
Right,
doing. I wasn't there.
right.
But from the way it looks for me, he got distracted. He came over, he hit the wall, jackknifed, and everybody piled up on him. I mean,
Mm,
that was a
yeah,
bad one. 3 people lost their lives on that one.
yeah, that is bad. Yeah,
So, I mean, that's the other thing. I got like Larry, he'll vouch for this.
yeah,
When I drive, if I'm not hitting the rumble strips at least a couple times within 2 miles or something wrong. I mean,
yeah,
that's just the way I drive. I kind of hug
yeah,
that side of the road or I hug the
yeah,
middle of the
yeah,
road. Just depends on how big of a drop off it is on the passenger side.
yeah. Grumpy old truckers in the background. Says a lot of trucks, a lot of newer trucks don't even have trolley brake levers. Well, that isn't a newer truck thing. That is a company thing, and you and I've even talked about this before, Grumpy. Some companies don't want their truck drivers, their company drivers, they don't want their guys burning up trailer brakes because a lot of these guys don't understand even how to use trailer brakes. They don't understand the art and the concept. And that unfortunately is reflected in some upper management decisions to do exactly what we're talking about in this case. What's your opinion on this one, Poet? I mean,
well, I mean, to add to Grumpy's real quick, sorry, poet,
no, go
but
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I mean, you look at some of these mountain grades that people are in, you know, that shows you right there. People don't know how to break it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, how many times do you go down a mountain pass and smell nothing but
Yeah.
brakes?
yeah. Some
And
trucks
5 miles
do.
down the road, one's pulled off.
Yeah, Grumpy says some must have to be special ordered. Some do, some don't. My understanding is that's a feature that's standard with the truck. It shouldn't have to be.
How
What
many
needs to be
people know what
special
a
ordered
trail?
nowadays is the manual transmission. I don't know that the trolley brake is one of those.
How many people even know how to use a trolley brake now?
Yes. A lot of them when you tell them about it, a lot of people just, that's for adjusting your tandems. They have no idea you can use it going downhill.
Well, I mean,
my hurricane truck never had that.
No, it didn't.
My hurricane truck didn't have that either.
There's so many different names for them. You got your trolley brake, you got the trailer brakes, you got the Johnny bar, there's so many different names for them. But the thing is when people go to these CDL schools, is they push them right through, and that's one thing that is missed on that schooling. And there's a lot of
Grumpy. You know about a company that classifies under that. That's all I'm saying. Poet, before I bring on my next guest on the panel, in all of your years of driving, how many trucks have you ever owned or had that were missing or did not have a trolley brake?
The one I owned, because it was vacuum over hydraulics.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Yep. So.
But any other one, it had the what we call the spike.
Yep. Okay.
The trailer brakes.
Yep.
And they don't teach you, that when you're feathering that trailer brake, that you have no feel. It's not like your foot valve.
It is, it's a lot different.
Okay.
It's a lot different.
It's a lot different. And they don't teach. I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's make room for one other guest who decided to join us tonight. Boom, the man of the hour. Welcome to the show, Fake Truckin'.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm driving real quick, pick up my daughter from her boyfriend's house. God, I hate to be this guy. I hate to be this guy. Do not be telling anybody to be pulling a trolley brake on icy roads. That is the most dangerous thing that you can do. You need to understand. Hold on here.
Yeah,
those brakes are designed to move your tandems. That is it. Right. There's a thing called ABS brakes that every trailer has. That ABS system does not work with an immediate stop of air. That's what a trolley brake is. Do not tell people to use that.
I'm not. I never did. How many
you just did?
Truckers?
All three of you did.
You may have misunderstood, or I may have misspoken. Either way, how many old-time truckers have you heard tell the story about staring at the side of their trailer, hitting that brake, and recovering that jackknife?
Do you know how many people I've heard do that exact same thing, and the trailer goes the complete opposite way, or actually pulls the truck because it engages the brakes, which is unlike ABS brakes?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could have a
that is such a dangerous tactic.
That's a safe thing. I don't recommend it. I've never done it. I am not advocating.
Oh, I have done it. That's where I'm coming from doing it. Yeah. It is not a good idea. It's not designed for that. I'll take this back. Let me calm down here a minute, and I'll take a step back. 20 years ago, 18 years ago, it was different because trucks and trailers, even pup trailers, weren't all ABS equipped, right? So that's a little bit different. But understanding the braking system of your truck, now the only one, there are two people on this panel that their trucks are a little bit older, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Amber's truck or Larry's truck. Mm-hmm. Most trucks, in the 90s and in the 80s, have ABS brakes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's the reason ABS was basically introduced to trucking was to stop the very thing that you are talking about.
Right.
The jackknifing of the trailers. Because what was causing the jackknifing of the trucks and trailers was the actual tires coming to a complete stop. If you notice when you push on the brakes, that doesn't happen.
Exactly. Go ahead.
You grabbed me here. I had to jump in for a minute. Fate, you pulled a few of my hairs here on my beard.
If you say anything different, Frank, it's going to speak volumes to the type of trucker that you are. That brake is not used for safety. It's not used for safety.
I will not say that it is not for using for safety because it is not. I will agree with you on that. But I will say this, as a veteran driver, just as yourself, if it had not been for me having a trolley brake in a trailer that I had, especially when it's empty, no chains, going down a mountain with about a 7% grade, you have to learn how to use one. You can't just say, "Oh, I know what that is," and pull it.
No,
you have to know how to use it.
No, you do not. You wonder why they don't teach that in truck driving school? You are cutting the air supply off to the brake system when you do that. If your brakes freeze up, you are screwed. That is not how you do it. And if you're going down a steep grade down a mountain with no trains on your trailer and your trailer is empty, you shouldn't even be able to load.
This show has just gotten completely sidelined.
Well, I'm just going to tell you from experience, Fate, I was going down from Montana, going down to Idaho, and hit a nasty blizzard going down that grade through the Yellowstone Mountains, and my wife happened to be with me.
Disobey the law, then, because I know that area.
I did not disobey a law because there is no law stating that you are not allowed to use your trolley brake for that purpose. But if you're not trained properly, if you're not trained properly, and you do choose to use it, yes, it will make one hell of a problem.
What you just said you went down requires chains on your drives and tandems. That area you're talking about requires
the chain law was not in effect at the time I was going down through there.
How many years ago?
Let's see. It's been about 4 years ago almost now. And the chain laws were not in effect during that time. That's what I said. It was just a freak. Yeah.
You know what?
No, it wasn't in August, but it was.
I will respectfully bow out, and I hope people heed my word. That is not used to stop your trailer from a jackknife. You will put your truck upside down doing that. There's a reason they don't teach it. There's a reason they don't teach it.
What I want you to understand, Fate, is I'm not advocating that, nor did I start the show off with that intention. What I was simply doing was relaying information that had been told to me, both in a story and in other events in my past life. I'm not advocating. I agree with what you're saying, Fate. Thank you for coming on and telling me that. And
I'm not endorsing it neither.
Yeah. Anytime you're dealing with stuff like that, especially with today's trucks, ABS probably will act a hell of a lot faster than you can ever reach down for that brake anyway. So, yeah, good point. I appreciate you making that. But, the idea that people aren't trained is where this whole conversation started.
They're not trained on using that because any truck that has it, usually right on it will say, do not use for parking, do not use, they're not trained to use it that way.
That's it on my truck right here. Yeah.
Because it's dangerous.
Yep. Mine says not for parking right on it.
Yep.
All
right, I gotta go, guys.
That's been
all right, appreciate you coming in, Grumpy.
That's been on there for well over 55 years. That was on the spike before I started driving.
Right. Yep.
And back at those days, your truck only had 2 maxi pots, and the rest were all single pots.
Singles.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
You just have to understand. Listen, getting out of a jack, how do I say this? It can help. It most certainly can help. It is not designed for it, and I would never, if I ever hired somebody and was training them, I would never tell them to use that as a tactic. Because the likelihood of you losing control of your truck, we're not talking about the trailer here. We're talking about the truck. Yep. When you have wheels that come to a complete stop, and you're drive tires are still turning,
Yeah.
that is a recipe for disaster.
It is. It is. It is
Well,
indeed.
That's why you push your clutch in and just let
Not
it roll.
not all of us are cool enough to drive cool trucks like you do, Thumper.
I knew it.
Good point. I'll give you that one, Fate.
Yes. Not all of us can, pick the gear we want to be in when we're going downhill and let the engine brake or let the clutch brake do the work for us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Sorry, I'm gonna bow out. I got really triggered. I'm sorry. I know I came in hot.
Thank you for joining us, Fate. I appreciate you coming in.
Bye.
A lot of fun.
Yep. Story number 2. I want to move on to eventually to our real debate topic tonight. If you think that was good, stick around. We could just get started. Story number 2: Texas and a trucking nightmare. If you've ever driven around Interstate 45 near Houston, you already know it's a complete nightmare and disaster. And guess what? You're not imagining it. Houston's I-45 and 69 interchange has been ranked the 3rd worst truck bottleneck in the entire nation. In fact, I have a video on this not long ago. Look it up on my channel if you haven't already seen it. Texas dominates the list of work traffic hotspots, claiming 12 out of the top 100 worst bottlenecks in America. The state has launched new projects for their infrastructure, but here's the problem. They take years and they leave a big footprint and a lot of real estate. In the meantime, we're losing time, hours, burning up more fuel and making less money because the delays, well, they're not our fault, but we got to deal with them. So here's the big debate. Are the infrastructure investments actually going to fix the problem? Are they really worth it? And will truckers continue to suffer while these politicians pat themselves on the back for the progress? What do you guys think? Infrastructure, more or less, too much? What do you think?
I can't answer that one.
Well, you don't drive in Texas anyway.
No, I don't. And everywhere, the biggest city I drive through is Fargo.
Yeah.
And it's a
well, I
straight
mean, how
line.
much congestion? How much congestion you got there? I mean, good Lord, they got to be building
depending on the time of the day.
Yeah, really?
I mean, if you're hitting it, if you're going east during during rush hour in the morning, yeah, it sucks. And if you're coming west during rush hour at night, yeah, it sucks. But for the most part, it's 55 mile an hour all the way through Fargo.
Yeah. When was the last time you were anywhere near Houston area, Larry? What was your experience with traffic?
I never had any issue because I pay attention to traffic.
You, when you worked with Hurricane, you were always on the phone with me talking about, can't get out of Texas.
But
in Texas, California, you hate it.
I couldn't get out of California. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
I never did go down to Houston. I always went straight through Amarillo. That's all.
I thought you were a freaking flyer over there.
Amarillo by morning.
Yeah. Listen to you.
No, but anyway, I mean, yeah, Houston could be bad. Houston could be bad just as much as Atlanta, Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. Sure.
People are going to look. That's what causes all the bottlenecks. I got to see what happens. If that's someone I know. Yep. Pretty much, that's what it is.
Hit the brakes. That's what starts the chain reaction right there. Yep. All right, last headline.
All it takes is for one.
Yep, last headline, because we're talking about headlines today. Future of trucking fuel. For years, we've been told diesel is dying, and the future is electric, hydrogen, or some other magic alternative fuel. But really, hydrogen-powered rigs just took a major hit with the bankruptcy of Nikola. I got a little community post featuring that one. Most of you don't know about it. Look it up. One of the industry's biggest hydrogen truck makers. Meanwhile, electric trucks, well, they're expensive. They have range issues. And the infrastructure is really up to, and not to mention the big story of today, talking about the EV mandate being dropped by California. So the million-dollar question is, what's the real future of alternative fuels? Is the industry being pushed toward solutions that aren't realistic? or should we just leave it alone and stick with the diesel standard? What's your say so? What do you? Let us know in the comments if you're watching. Give us a call on our studio line, 860-785-3547, 860-785-3547. We'd like to hear from you. What do you guys think? Diesel?
I said it once before. Let's go back to horse and buggy. Screw it.
Horse and buggy. Boy, you make the debate real easy, don't you?
I would like to go back to dinosaurs.
Yeah. I've been saying since I started this channel, they need to leave the diesel standard alone. Yeah, I get innovations here, and everybody's trying to make the gallon go further. I get that. I applaud that. It's great. Some of these newer trucks, we have such great technology and great innovation in it. Some of these trucks, we can get 8, 9, 10 miles a gallon. You know, why go with, all this nutso crap, that Nicola's been, put out of business trying to innovate and do. I mean, I thought I read somewhere billions of dollars innovated, and that company's up in smoke now.
I thought Nikola was electric.
No, they've been doing electric and hybrid. They were
okay.
doing both alternative fuels and electric too. So
okay,
and they were also neck deep in automation too.
It works for me. So whatever, I don't really care what happens in the rest of the world. What I do, it works great for me. But at the same time, I see these hydrogen trucks because you see them a lot in like Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I think, I'm like, who would want to, like, literally, you're straddling a bomb. Like, if that goes up, it's like, it's gonna go kaboom.
Yeah.
So like, it hesitates me. It makes me hesitate on that stuff. I mean, honestly,
Thumper, look at that guy that had a liquid gas truck that blew up on the West Coast. It was like natural gas, but there were no placards. The truck caught on fire. And a couple of firemen got injured when the tank blew up.
I guess
so that's a valid point.
Yeah, I never heard of that, but like, I mean, back in the day, now I'm making myself feel old. I drove an 81 Kenworth. We had a 400 big cam coming in at 13 speed. Fuck, I love that truck. I wish I still had it. But I had 2 tanks on that. One tank was diesel, and then after the engine was warmed up, and I had a heating system on the other tank, and it actually ran off vegetable oil.
Wow.
So one day it'd smell like Kentucky Fried Chicken, the next day it smelled like McDonald's fries.
Right.
But
always driving hungry.
But I did a lot of local stuff, so I could justify doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's 90%. That's 90% of the problem. We're talking about alternative fuels. Getting the supply to actually last for a full, 2,000, 2,400 mile run across country. Or in the case with the electric debate we had, several times on this channel, either way you look at it, whatever form of fuel you use, it has to be able to measure up distance, durability, and it also has to be able to be functional too. I don't know about the average person, but I'm not going to do like Thumper just described, or like you were talking a minute ago, and drive around hungry or sit on something that could virtually explode any second.
Right.
The average driver isn't going to do that.
The stacks were behind the sleeper, so I never smelled that.
Well,
But and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that truck actually ran better, and it got better mileage on vegetable oil. But
really? Wow.
It did, because that truck, I was pulling a thing called live bottom, which is the bottom of the trailer. It's like a hopper bottom, but it has belts on it, and it dumps out like an end dump, but without the trailer tipping, it's on a belt and it goes out. Well, anyways, no, I mean, I lived behind 2 restaurants, So my fuel right there was free. In the wintertime, it sucked, but you had to have special heaters because you had to have it heated up to like 200 and some degrees. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of factors and a lot of stuff to do it. Like my diesel pickup runs on vegetable oil. And it does. I mean it does. I mean it lacked the power a little bit, but it with a couple little bit of modifications and stuff here, like a little bit bigger turbo or something like that, it did. It got better fuel mileage and stuff. But I like to tinker around with stuff like that. Now, would it justify doing over the road stuff? Larry, quit moving your mic.
Seriously, you're working.
I think you got a wire going out inside that thing
or something. Yeah.
But anyways, I like tinkering around with that stuff, but does it justify doing over the road? No, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Local stuff, yeah, I could see it justifying local stuff because you're around a fuel source all the time.
Yep. Well, fuel sources are, I mean, right now, what works is what we're dealing with. And yeah, it's expensive. And we're starting to, I guess, get back into the whole drill baby drill thing. So yeah, for the next 4 years, we've got a good, supply, but that could change someday. So I get why people are innovating. I get why they're trying to do things because someday could come. You never know.
Diesel's actually getting is either at or getting under $3 a gallon here.
Yeah, but it's a slow drop. It's always. I don't care how much supply you got. It's never going to go boom. It's going to always be a slow drop. Always.
Oh no, it'll go boom. It will. They got to start opening reserves.
Yeah. What reserve?
That's
Biden pissed all the reserves away. Trump's got to refill them babies.
That's why he's saying drill, baby, drill. But
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. We have enough oil stuff. Yeah, that's Larry's headset.
It's gotta be. I just muted him.
But anyways, there is enough oil in the United States to run the country, but why do we need to rely on other countries?
We don't. And we also don't need to rely strictly on one program. Here's the thing, and this is what made me make the video I made earlier today, and what's made me basically argue this whole point of alternative fuels to begin with. I support the idea of alternative fuels, and I support the idea of innovating to reduce costs. Totally and 100% on board with both of those statements. However, what I'm not on board with, and what I do think is wrong, is when one business, corporation, or entity, whether it be state or federal, stick around because I'm about to get into that, tells everyone in an industry you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Give everyone the tools and resources they need to make their own choice, innovate on their own, spend their own money the way they see fit, and you will get better innovation as a result. When you force an industry's hand, or when you force a company's hand, sometimes the results you get are those you did not ask for. And that's been my position all along. This whole business leading up to my video today of the state saying you got this much time, you got to do it this way, and you got to do it specific. That's BS. And it's been that way since the word go. And thank God that actual plan is now going the way it is. In other words, they've dropped the mandate. They've decided to relax. As much as it may only be a 4-year vacation, who knows? It's given us time to rethink the whole thing. And I think that's the smartest move. I really do.
You want to know something about alternative fuel? You sit there and look back in the Prohibition days. What did those moonshiners run? Ethanol.
Yeah.
Pure alcohol. And they made it themselves.
Yeah,
now,
they made it work.
Let's fast forward a little bit. What did the military use in the deuce and a halves? multi-fuel engines. You could dump used motor oil and that thing would run.
Wow.
Bring that stuff back.
Yeah.
There's your alternative fuel. Start running waste oil. Start running this. Start running that. Don't
just say, what's the cost? What's the cost differential when you're talking about the stuff that the military used?
Well, I can't remember what engine it is, but it would run off waste oil, vegetable oil, diesel, gasoline, anything that had a combustion. It ran off of.
Right.
And the thing, I mean, they're gutless wonders because everything the military has is gutless, but that's besides the point.
Right.
You know, they would send troops overseas and everything, and whatever they had out in the field or whatever they had in the town, they threw in the tank and it worked.
Right.
So why not make those engines again? Yes, the gasoline stuff, they had a toggle switch. I've driven one. That's how I know this.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't remember what brand it was. And I see Jason's comment.
Jason said, it says Edison Motors. What happened to the whole? Yeah, I was going to have you do that.
Because I follow Edison Motors, so I can answer
Welcome
that one.
Welcome to the show and channel, Jason. If you'd be kind enough, give us a like down below, and certainly look us up. But yeah,
but anyways,
hold
with
on.
those military
Hold on.
vehicles, when you would switch to a gasoline, you flip the toggle switch, and there were spark plugs there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what it was. You flip a switch, you could dump whatever you want in it, and it would go.
Right.
And now with the Edison motor things, like I said, I follow him on YouTube. It's still in the works, but he specializes in the logging stuff. So, you know, it's gonna be a little bit of time before he brings that to the over the road.
Actually, not just logging. I'm onto their website on my computer behind you guys.
Right, go ahead.
They got a picker truck, a triaxle dual steer. They have a tri-drive winch tractor that is for testing and demonstration, and one that's already sold for moving drill rigs. They have a quad wagon logger for Tolco, which is, as far as I know, out on Vancouver Island. They have a snowplow for MCON Services,
right?
Which is the privatized service here,
right?
And then they have a weird looking type cab over. Okay, so if you type in Edison Motors into Google, you can get onto their website. They are still building trucks.
There you go. Okay. Good to know, my friend. Good to know. Appreciate you doing that lookup for us.
Yep, not a problem.
If you feel crafty enough,
gold star.
Yeah, if you're feeling crafty enough, poet, post the link or paste the link in the comment. Let Jason go look at it for himself. That'd be awful kind of you if you know how to do it. Larry, you got anything to add on this before we go into our picture story?
He faded away for a second.
No.
Okay. All right. I'll mute him back then. All right. Well, let me move on to the burning question. Trucking regulations. Should it be state or should it be federal? What do you guys think?
Federal.
They should all be equal so that we can follow the same rules and trying to memorize all 50 for states.
Trying to move in on a different tone. What do you think?
Sorry,
I personally
didn't realize you were doing that.
No. Actually, that worked out better. That worked out better than you think. Truckers, this regulatory tug of war between state-specific emissions laws and federal trucking standards is coming to a boiling point. Recently, with my story I put up earlier today, with states like California pushing aggressive emission mandates, forcing fleets to adopt electric trucks and low-emission technology at an unsustainable pace, the federal government is now stepping in to challenge these regulations. The EPA under the Trump administration is now targeting blue state emissions rules, arguing that they unfairly burden truckers and create a patchwork of compliance nightmares. This brings us to the big question. Should trucking operate under one unified national standard, or should states be able to impose their own rules, even if they cripple small carriers and drive up costs? Now, folks, let's hear from someone who can shed a little bit of light on this, who's living this fight firsthand. This isn't just some political debate. This is real. It's a real trucker, it's a real business, and it's a real livelihood that's on the line. I want you to meet an owner of a trucking company that's caught in the crossfire of California's overreach. And he don't even live in California. This guy's name is Mike Kowalski, a co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking. He was on an interview with Fox News, and he told one state's mandates are forcing the rest of the country to adapt, whether they like it or not. Listen here.
Correctly. Yeah, it would be a huge win for the industry, because how's this? California doesn't dictate the nation. I mean, we need a technology that we can use across all of the U.S., not one state, demanding that they do it. And then, I love that California said, oh, we're going to have EV trucks, but the infrastructure is not there. The power grid's not there. Last time I checked, the 3 hottest summers in a row in California, the news is telling people, look, don't plug in your electric car.
Yep. Supporters of federal intervention say that a nationwide policy creates a level playing field, preventing states like California from dictating the future of trucking for the entire industry. But state regulations argue that local pollution concerns demand state-specific solutions, even if it forces truckers to upgrade. This war isn't just about emissions. It's about control. It's about who really sets the rules for trucking in America. The federal government, which oversees interstate commerce and FMCSA and all that, or state governments, which claim to be fighting for cleaner air. More importantly, who gets crushed in the middle? So here's my first question. Should trucking operate under a single national standard, or should states be allowed, like California has, to do what they've done? What say you guys? Put it in the comments. Let us know. Call our studio line, 860-785-3547. Thumper, what say you?
I think I already kind of said it.
We'll say it again, just in case people are tuning in late.
It is. It's really hard to memorize. Sorry, something caught my attention. Sound like water outside the truck.
Go ahead.
It does. It sounds like, or not sounds like. Now I really lost my train of thought. Sounds like somebody's dog's peeing in the shop. But anyways, no.
Good evening to Chief Freight Hauler. Appreciate you joining the show tonight.
It's frustrating trying to memorize poet mute, please. It's hard memorizing every single state that you travel through.
Yeah.
And to, just the regulation stuff, because like North Dakota is different from South Dakota. South Dakota is different from Montana. Montana is different from Missouri. And, the list just goes on and on and on. And it's just really hard to memorize all that stuff. Well,
yeah.
Back in the
day, to those watching, put in your 2 cents. Tell us in your own words, should trucking operate under a single national standard, or should the states be allowed to do? In other words, did California do the right thing by letting go of their EV mandate, or should we stay the course? So I'd like to hear from you guys. If you also want to comment directly with me or any of the panelists, certainly give us a ring here, 860-785-3547. We are certainly geared up for debate tonight. If this show hasn't proved that, nothing will. Larry, what do you think? I mean, states, federal government, who do you think needs to have more power?
Well, doesn't both state and federal run their state? Each state has their own set of rules even for trucks, for that matter.
No, the federal government is what regulates FMCSA.
Okay,
that's
okay, but
that's federal.
But yet the state, right? But the states also could do, like The speed limits. That's not a federal thing. That's a state thing.
Individual states have the right to set their own speed limits, yes, but
Yes.
federally,
So
they can also do the same thing.
So
They just choose to defer to the states.
Here's a question, because
Go
I
ahead.
just seen an actual like TikTok about this.
Right.
A guy was running red lights on the sleeper of his truck, and he got them on. We all do, all of us hooded trucks do that. I mean, there are some non-hooded trucks that do it, which it's a trucker thing. You want your truck to be seen.
Yeah, true.
Well, in Kansas, supposedly, you can't run them. But federal FMCA, or the FMCA federal, says you could do that. So how does a state trump federal? That should be the real question.
In that case, I would ask the question, which takes higher standing? Which wins? And you bring up a good point. When you make a law federally and then a state makes one different, who do you follow? And that's the problem that this whole thing with California is creating, because like this fella, Mike, was bringing up, it's putting his company between a hot rock and a hard place, because federally, there's really no emission standard, but yet California is pushing theirs, and as many as 23 states were doing likewise legislation coming up. Thank God they're not, but everybody's slowly getting on board, state by state by state by state. So where does that leave everybody? When the federal government can't come in and say, no, it's this, or no, it's that, up to now, of course, now that Trump has forced his hand, and, we've got this whole EV mandate thing. So that's really the only example I've got of the federal government coming over to state. But
yeah, I mean, that's
Danny
just
Luster.
it.
Danny Luster joining the commentary. Thank you for the comment. We can't upgrade. Freight is cheap and repairs are too expensive. Yes, they are. And I think he's talking about the earlier conversation we had. So thank you for your 2 cents on that. Cheap Freight Hauler asked, states should be able to make their own laws concerning interstate carriers. Yeah.
Well, don't they
To a
already
degree.
do that? Don't they
Yeah, I was
already do
just
that?
gonna
But that
say,
goes
to a
back to
degree
the
they
whole,
do.
that goes back to that sorry. I'm
Go
trying
ahead.
so hard not to slip here. But
Hey,
that
it's a
goes,
debate show. We're truckers.
I'm not trying to diss on like Cheap Freight Hauler or anybody else.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
know.
if a state says one thing and the federal says another, who do you follow?
Exactly.
The state.
They all need to be the same, so you're not trying to memorize every single state's law. If you travel all 50 different states and they have 150 different laws in every single state,
yeah,
I'm sorry, but I ain't the brightest crayon in the box, but I will not be able to remember that.
most of us won't. Yeah.
And
Go ahead, poet.
that's fair enough, Sumper. What Cheap Freight says is states should be able to make their own laws concerning intrastate, which is fine. But when it comes to interstate or even international, that should be federal, and they should be.
In every respect, what his point is true. It is currently a federal issue. And when you talk about the difference between interstate and intrastate, I kind of agree with only this point, and that is commerce overall is governed by the ICC. All right. International.
Does that still exist, the Interstate Commerce Commission?
Well, it does in a different form, but that's where it all came from. Okay. It all came from that. So when you think about it, that code and that law that was originally written is basically what governs state to state commerce, as well as, across the lines. So
interstate is federal.
Yes, it is.
What are you? That's what.
What are you confused about?
I'm not confused about anything. It's other people who are confused. Interstate is federal. State should not overstate what federal is.
Well, he goes on to say interstate carriers should be under a federal standard for the most part. Naturally, you wouldn't want Texas bridge law in Connecticut, yes. I mean, where he's talking about that, yes. But I don't think you worded it right because that's not intrastate. That's interstate. That's two different things.
You don't
That's what you were
want to
getting at.
start. You do not want to start the bridge law stuff. That is so freaking confusing.
Tonight's
It
debate.
took me over 15 years to figure that out.
Tonight's debate is not concerning bridge laws. Let me put that disclaimer out. But he makes a valid point though. When you start making laws in one state that affect other states, then that's where this whole emissions problem started. I live in North Carolina. Why should I have to be forced to buy an electric truck? I can't do that. So that's kind of, in a sense, what he's talking about.
That's why I like living in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Montana.
You got it worse than I do.
Because there is no emission laws.
Yeah. And no electric. No, I'm just.
We can run straight pipe cats if we want to.
Right. I hear you. That's funny. But I agree with him. I mean, there's really no sense in having, laws that affect
it. If they want to be concerned about the greenhouse effect or whatever they call it, global warming. There we go.
Yeah.
What the heck just happened in the last 2 weeks?
What do you mean?
It was so freaking cold. I let Bo out of the shop and I opened the door. He looked at me and said, "Screw you," and popped a squat in the shop.
Hey, I thought I was dreaming, man.
It was 60, 70 below zero around here.
I was going to say, I left New York 2 days ago. It was freaking 32 degrees, freezing my butt off. I'm down here in South Carolina now, and I'm sweating like profusely because it's like uncontrollably warm in this truck right now. Really needs to make
greenhouse effect and emissions is causing the right.
Yeah.
The world works on a 7-year cycle.
Yeah.
7 years you're wet, 7 years you're dry, 7 years you're cold, 7 years you're hot as balls.
You know what? You keep talking like that, you're gonna get my wife clicking the link and coming up here and bitching you out for this whole 7-year thing. You're treading dangerous territory.
The previous farmers almanac. Look at the history. That's how it is.
I'm picking on you.
Oh,
yeah,
I know, but I'm just stating the facts here. I mean, cows give you a dead giveaway what the weather is gonna do. They do. If they're huddled up, it's either gonna be really freaking cold or it's gonna be, oh hey, I figured out something what to do. I got a light. Squirrel moment.
Ooh, shiny object.
Yeah.
I've never
seen
it like
squirrel.
Did you see that?
Upper just had his squirrel moment.
I'm like, I held my thumb up like this because I was using it as a pointer.
Yeah.
And a thumbs up thing popped up. I'm like, oh, what the heck? Never seen that before.
Okay, then. That's that interesting little Apple thing that you got going on there.
It must be because I think John does this.
Yeah, he does. I
don't know. And then there's
your tablet's probably not set up the same way his is. He's got this neat little things all programmed. All right, back to
other people do it too. But sorry, squirrel moment.
Yeah, it's an Apple thing. Yeah, it definitely was for you. I mean, back to what we were talking about a minute ago. If every state starts imposing their own regulations, how would that? I mean, other than what we talked about, how would that affect everybody? I mean, us, the supply chains, trucking business.
It would only affect you if you're in that state.
No,
Once you leave that state, you're no longer obligated to that state's rules, right?
Right, but then how do you defend what we just talked about? The emission standards of California and this whole thing that they were trying to do with their Green Deal. How do you defend that with that question? I mean, that right there, the demand from Illinois.
Me and California never got along.
Well, then there again, listen to the man from Illinois.
Correctly. Yeah, it would be a huge win for the industry because how's this? California doesn't dictate the nation. I mean, we need a technology that we could use across all of the U.S.
Yeah.
One state, demanding that we do it. And then, I love that California said, oh, we're going to have EV trucks, but the infrastructure is not that part.
Think
He's
about
from
it.
he's from Illinois, so he's just as bad as California.
Well, but his point is a valid one, though. He's talking about being in Illinois. He's being affected by California's rules, and that's
because he's part of the blue states.
Hold up. Don't start
You're
that
tearing my damn story apart. Shame on you.
Bullshit. Don't start on that stuff.
Well, that
was part of your. That was in your.
To his point, that's the tagline in the story I'm reading. So that's my fault.
Seriously,
Illinois is a blue state.
It has nothing to do with blue state, red state. It doesn't.
Why you say that?
Okay. If it don't, then why is New York following the same rules that California does?
Yeah.
Because they've never been in a truck before.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong. That's the problem.
I would like cheap freight hauler. If you know of this emission law you're referring to, said there's a federal emission.
There is a federal law emission. I was going to bring that up because I got my phone popped up too.
Yeah.
The federal law emission is you got to meet emissions to that year of the production.
Well, yeah, other than the truck, but I didn't know if he was referring to something else because we've been bouncing around.
Okay, here's another one. Take Pennsylvania and Maryland for that matter. You have to take your semi truck and still have them emission checked.
Right.
Every I think 3 or 4 years or whatever it is.
Right.
And
it's
got to meet the federal emission of that particular year it was made.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Now, is emissions part of the state or the federal for that state?
Mm-hmm.
If your truck is registered out of Pennsylvania or Maryland,
yeah.
Well, it's just like, okay, I mean, if we're gonna go down that route, I know there's one state out there for sure. I'm sure there's more.
Yep.
Minnesota. If you are from Minnesota, you have to get your truck inspected by Minnesota. You cannot have a federal tag on it. You have to have a Minnesota federal tag on it because their DOT is a lot different than everybody else.
Yep.
I'm sure there's other states out there, but where I run.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reason why my company is in North Dakota, not in Minnesota, is because I would have to follow their rules, and that's a wormhole you do not want to go down.
Yep. True that. Once again, last call. If you guys want to get in part of the action, studio line is 860-785-3547. Be sure and give us a like and a subscription if you haven't already. We are here for you guys. We want to help make trucking great again through these news stories and lively debates.
I mean, you guys are kind of getting me worked up because you're like, oh, blue state, this state. No, the issue is there's people. They need people in there like us in here that know what it's like being out on the road, what it takes. Not some guy who doesn't know the difference between his head and his ass. A pencil pusher, fucking telling us what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Now, Mr. Trump, President Trump, whatever you want to call him, he has a general idea what goes on out here because he talks to truckers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wants to help. And that's why so many people are fighting him, and he's actually doing a good thing. He's running a country like a business, the way it was supposed to be done.
Yep. Here's a lively question for everybody watching that you brought that up, Sean, Thumper. I appreciate you bringing that up. Lori Chavez, what do you guys think? If you watched my video from earlier this week, tell me in the comments or give us a call and tell us. What do you think about her being nominated for the Department of Labor? She's going to have a profound effect on our future in trucking, only because she's got a direct role in this debate over PRO Act. Everybody knows she's favored for it, and everybody knows she'll look favorably to it. She hasn't been nominated yet, but she's been confirmed and she's been heard. So whether she's actually going to be put in that place, who knows? But I'd like to know your thoughts. Tell me in the comments if you got a few moments and you're willing to let us know.
Is she a business person?
All she's got on her tenure of experience is, I think, 8 years worth of experience as a mayor of Happy Valley, Oregon, and I think a very few years as a representative from the state of Oregon. Other than that,
been in
don't
politics.
know.
Well, I guess I don't
Pretty
know
much.
how old this
Pretty
person
much,
is,
yeah.
but been in politics the whole time.
Yep.
You want to explain the PRO Act?
PRO Act is a piece of legislation that's designed to basically, by the end of it all, classify workers as either employees or basically to summarize, it gets rid of the independent contractor. It sets up legislation to favor unions and favor unionized workers over independent workers.
So no more right to work states.
Pretty much. Well, that I don't know how they'd handle, but I do know that the idea of the independent contractor, if PRO Act were passed, would be history. It'd be done.
So then they would
go watch my video.
following...
It'll give you a pretty good idea. It's a very good explanation.
I did. I commented on it. I asked you to explain for some of us dumbasses that really don't know anything about it.
Careful, we've got 9 people that may contest that description you just gave.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
So they're going the way that California did with their port workers. They're independent contractors that do drayage.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, realize too, Lori Chavez Dreamer, that's her name. She's being considered for the Department of Labor. That's over the entire country. That's over the entire country. Yeah.
I
Hey,
understand
Larry,
that.
look outside your truck.
I know. I've watched them.
At this point, okay, and I mentioned that in the comments to your video. What happens to a guy that owns a bodega or a convenience store and he owns the building?
It wouldn't affect individuals. It would just affect those individuals subcontracted to. Major point of contention would be subcontractors working for a carrier, i.e., owner-operators, people like me, people like Thumper, people like Larry.
Okay,
they're independent. They don't have a W-2. It's, they're 1099 at the end of the year. That would go away. That's what their purpose is. They're trying to get rid of that.
So up here, that would be considered Trucker Inc.
Trucker Inc. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
And they've done away with that.
Yeah.
Because they don't want a trucker being an independent contractor when in reality they're driving a company truck. They take orders.
So what you just explained is you want to do away with owner operators.
No, I don't.
That's what you just explained. You want them to do away with independent
He's just
contractors.
saying,
I'm an independent contractor for American Food Group.
Yep.
Okay. What I'm saying is that Canada did away with Driver Inc. Okay, driving a company truck, taking orders from company dispatch. Okay, but having to pay their own insurance, their own everything, workman's comp.
So you just explained a lease to purchase that you could never get out of.
No.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, but
I'm sorry.
I think the direction.
You guys really triggered me. So.
Well, I think pardon me, poet.
Go ahead.
I think what he's trying to explain is that Canada's gotten away from the independent side. If you have to work up there now, you got to be an employee. That's just plainly the whole thing. And that's what the PRO Act down here is trying to do. They're trying to do the same thing that Canada's already accomplished. And really,
I get
this
that,
is
but
not
I'm pointing out the problems with it.
Yes, I agree.
I'm nitpicking. I understand what you guys are saying, what you're trying to explain, but you also got to remember, this is going on social media. It will be there until you take the video down or until YouTube takes the video down. So you want our voices to be heard. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're going to listen then?
Okay.
I am listening.
Well, let me segue. Let me segue this.
Okay.
This is a perfect time for the question I was going to save till last minute. So perfect way to wrap the show up. What's the real solution here? Now, with you talk about whether it's emissions rules, state versus federal government control, or this very conversation we're having right now, what's the real solution? Poet, you first. What do you think is the real solution here?
Okay. As far as federal versus state, states can do inside the states whatever they want. Interstate or international should be federal and harmonized both sides of the border.
Right.
Okay. As far as the trucker Inc. thing, that is for employees, not for independent contractors. Okay.
I think you're going to get an argument there, but okay. I think I understand what you're saying, but I think I can already see Thumper's smoking.
Yeah, no, and I hear them, but I'm not talking about owner operators.
Right.
Owner operator is a totally different animal.
No. We're going around in fucking circles again. That's exactly what's happened. Because now you're sitting there saying, "Oh, the states could do this except for on interstate, but federal needs to regulate." No, keep it all fucking federal. Simple as that.
Fine,
keep everything the same, so you don't have to memorize every single law from every single state.
Okay. But
that's been the problem all along.
I need to get Thumper a box.
But if,
what do you mean?
If you only run
So he can stand on.
state, if you only run one state, Thumper, hey, if you only run into one state, that means that you only have to know that state's laws. Whereas if you run interstate, you would be under federal, which is a whole different ball of wax.
Okay, point something out here. Flaw in your plan.
Okay.
A huge flaw in your plan. Okay, I'm going to use North Dakota example.
All right.
There's 2 interstates that run through North Dakota. I-29 on the east straight, north and south.
Yep.
Then you got 94 east and west.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big city just north of me about 2 wait, which way's north? That way.
Winnipeg.
I'm
not saying anything about another country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
now,
just talking about the U.S.
There's a big town just north of me called Minot.
Oh, I know where Minot is.
There's no interstate that goes there. So now I have to follow state rules.
Yep.
Because you're only saying interstate. No, keep it all the same. End of discussion.
Yep.
Is your truck licensed? Is your truck licensed interstate? Then you should be under federal rules.
But as soon as you come off of interstate, you're sitting there saying that it needs to go to state rules.
No.
He's actually using your theory against you, Poet. Think about that.
No.
One second. Think about it.
I'm not talking about
You can't bullshit a bullshitter.
Hey, I'm not talking about interstate as in road. I am talking interstate going from state to state to state to state.
All right, you might want to change your wording then. I think I know what you're saying. I agree. And I agree in theory with what you're saying. Because the whole idea of picking up freight in New York and taking it to Arizona, okay? This whole idea of interstate commerce rules was basically created so as to know when a company employed a truck driver to run that freight from New York to Arizona, whose laws take precedent? Is it New York? Is it Arizona? What happens when an accident is occurred between those 2 states and doesn't involve either 2 states? So there's a set of rules in place, federally based, that govern what happens. And that's what Thumper's saying. That's what needs to stay, because right now, every state's trying to get their little grubby hands in it, and they're trying to confuse everybody. And then you have people like yourself making this whole interstate argument that just completely, sounds good, but it's honestly making things worse. And it's part of the problem in California.
Then you get assholes like me that nitpick in between the lines.
Well,
that raised my viewership.
I am legally doing. I am literally arguing with you like a DOT officer would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying you're right. But if you go forward doing this stuff, and you get pulled over on a 2-lane road, and you sit there and get into a huge argument with a DOT officer, they're gonna throw your ass in handcuffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like the start of the show. It's just like the start of the show when we started talking about the whole thing with trolley brakes.
Yeah.
Bate was real prompt, and thank you for doing that, by the way, Scott, if you're still watching. He was real prompt at coming in and correctly showing, look, there's a lot of people that don't know the right way to handle that. You don't use it for this, you use it for that.
Right.
You know, the same thing here. You know, we're talking about an issue that really, when you talk about it, when it comes down to it, there's one person that you got to deal with, and he's going to have the ultimate say so, and that's the officer at the time you get inspected, or when you go to register your truck, or when you go to pay the taxes. You've got to deal with somebody that represents the government. What do you do then? You're going to nitpick them worse than Thumper. You're going to be going in jail, just like he said. So I totally get where you're coming from, Thumper. Totally understand that.
Well,
like
let me
said,
ask you this, Thumper.
everything truck related. And now I'm going to pick on a little bit of the truck side that a lot of people don't talk about. And who is ever watching, they may blow your comments up.
Yeah.
Farmers.
Yeah.
They need to follow the same rules we do.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
They do.
What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
Do you really want to open that can of worms?
Why not?
Well, I mean, you felt it necessary to mention it. I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain yourself.
I'm going to go buy a semi that's been sitting out in the weeds for 30, 40 years. And then I'm just going to do the bare minimum of make it so it runs and then go haul 140,000 pounds on a 80,000 pound trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to stop at weigh scales.
They don't.
They could just drive right on by. If you have farm plates, you drive right on by. DOT does not recognize farm trucks.
Okay.
See, and up here they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's an area. Poet, good thing you brought up. Maybe that's an area where that does need to be enhanced down here.
And see, that's probably the reason. That's probably the reason why he's getting defensive with me going after him the way I am because he didn't.
I'm not getting defensive.
Just let me talk for like 2
just
seconds.
Relax for a minute. Yeah, just relax.
Just like that, you jumped on me.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because that is something I didn't know. You guys recognize farm semis. Down here in the States, we do not. So I was sitting there saying, this is what happens. So everything across the board needs to be the same. That's where I was going into the 2-lane and this and that. Because when the DOT officer sees farm plates on a trailer or a semi, they'll be like, oh, slow your speed down or give them a ticket and off they go. You don't even need to have a CDL to drive a farm truck.
Mm-hmm.
You could drive an 18-wheeler if it's in a 150-mile air radius from your farm. Actually, no, they just changed that.
Mm-hmm.
Farm-plated trucks can go anywhere in their state and 50 miles over the border.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's as far as they could go.
Wow.
And you do not need a CDL. The truck does not need inspection. You don't run red fuel, but you pretty much could, and they can get away with it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But that's where I am bringing my questions to you and arguing this so bad is because, I learned something tonight. Canada recognizes farm trucks. The United States does not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything you want to add to this, Larry? You've been awful quiet during this whole thing.
Oh, he's sitting there.
I was just watching the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I piped in. I said I need to get him a box so he can get on a soapbox.
You want some popcorn, Larry?
You need to save that for Grumpy's show.
Okay.
Anyway.
I was not getting defensive. Okay.
No.
I don't feel that you're picking on me.
Oh.
Okay. I really don't.
No, I'm just arguing it.
Okay.
I'm just arguing it. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here looking at it as a DOT cop and as what a farmer would do.
Okay. When I talk about interstate, I'm talking about interstating.
Yeah.
Okay. As compared to intra-state.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Okay.
again, that goes back to what I said earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Interstating does not apply on 2 lanes because they are not federally owned.
No.
They are state owned.
No.
See, and yeah, okay. Let me chew on that for a while. But here's
That's
another
fodder.
thing.
That's fodder for a discussion for next week's show, guys.
Hang on
Give
a
me
second. Hang on.
What?
The thing is that I feel, okay, that all these different laws should be federalized and equalized both sides of the border. If
Right.
you run a truck with IFTA stickers on it,
Mm-hmm.
you should be regulated the same on both sides of the border.
Okay. Interesting discussion for next week's show. Okay. We're at an hour and 20 minutes.
I think we found a new topic for you.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, we can carry this on for 2-3 hours. I'll tell you what.
Oh, probably.
Yep.
Let me know when you're done, and hopefully
you'll
you can stick around for a bit.
Yeah, you'll know when I'm done. Trust me on that one. Friends, when it comes down to it, there's a lot to be said. The fight legally is setting the rules for the road. Should truckers be forced to navigate a maze of ever-changing laws? Well, that's up for debate. Put it in the comments below. If you're watching on the replay, let us know. Before we roll out, here's a nugget of truth to take with you. In trucking, just like in life, the road ahead is full of obstacles. Government mandates, economic shifts, fuel prices, you name it. But the one that succeeds here are the ones that can adapt, stay informed, and stand their ground. And you can do just that by being subscribed to this channel. Look for more updates, because it's people like you who live this reality every day, and we can't do it alone. We have a community, and that's what happens here. We build that community. Ain't that right, Thumper?
Oh yeah, I do. We can't do this alone. We all need each other's help and whatnot, and hopefully what we discussed tonight helped a lot of people. I mean, I got pretty heated.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably could have kept arguing with it about that a lot, but
yep.
That's just it. I mean, we gotta start being aware of what we do in these big trucks, and we need to start training better, I guess you could say. Specialize in a skill and all that other stuff that I always preach about. But I mean, that's just it. I mean, like I always say, God bless everybody. God bless, the firefighters, EMTs, the military personnel, police, EMT. Yeah, I already said EMTs. Just help one another out. Weather's starting to change. It's starting to get warm, so that we're gonna leave on a positive note on that one.
Yep.
So, and we don't do it just for us and our families. Do it for you guys.
You know what? Every week we do it. Become a subscriber and learn more about our one road, one code commitment to trucking. It's as simple as looking out for each other. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one show on Truckin' Frontlines. There's strength in numbers. So remember, it's trucks that make the delivery, but it's you that make the difference. Together, we add up. Effort and strength make trucking great again. Let us know what your thoughts are and look for us next time on the front lines. Till then, keep it real, keep it fake, and keep it rolling.